administrators, board members and so on. When is that going to be happening, in that time frame between now and January?
Yes. I think what we'd like to do as a committee is take a few more work sessions and to think through some things that are still floating out there, and then get as good as we can for that moment of time to present it to other groups and get their input. But we have to keep a line of sight that we have a January 22nd deadline, so we can't stretch this out.
I'm a firm believer in when you work as a group and have buy-in to something as big as this, that the end result will be something spectacular, so I'm hoping that that happens. Back in November, when the superintendent and the board at the time said, hey, we want you to take a look at this, this group certainly could have come back and said, what we have is great. So as it relates to what we currently have, were there significantly more concerns with the plan versus strengths in the current plan that we have?
Growth?
Yes. Okay. First of all, please know that we accepted this challenge, and not only that, we truly appreciate, and I'm speaking for all of us, this opportunity to speak freely. Laura and Russ led us in some really down, dirty, for lack of better words, everything on the table conversations. And I understand that this is just from a teacher standpoint. I'm going to get to your question, Mr. Hunger, I'm sorry. I know this is just from a teacher standpoint, but everyone on that committee wears different hats. We wear hats as parents, we wear hats as community members, and many of us have been born and raised here. So this just isn't a teacher to us, just a teacher rewards. This is for our community. So thank you for that. And yes, if you want the statistics on the strengths and weaknesses?
Sure.
Yeah. 30 strengths, 90 areas of improvement.
On the current plan.
Correct.
And going back to working as a group, I looked over Russ's shoulder tonight and counted, I believe, 23 teachers involved in this team, in addition to the administrators that have sat in on all these meetings, and this was a volunteer thing that you all signed up for, and I very, very much appreciate that. This isn't anywhere close to being done yet, and there's a lot of work yet to be done to try to hit a January 22nd deadline, and we also have the holidays coming up, so the work that you put in between now and then, thank you in advance for that. Looking at the level, a level advancement is earned. Each year a teacher completes an effective, those are the two words I'll bold out, year of teaching, as evidenced by observation and performance. So just by teaching in our district, you're not going to move up a level. Okay.
That was very clearly, sorry Russ, that was a very clear, something that the committee made very clear that they wanted was that you had to earn that year, but that there be something for effectively teaching in the district each year, because you need to retain teachers, and if you're going to retain teachers, you have to reward them for staying. And so that was our, okay, you don't just get it, but you do get it if you earn it.
May I ask, how is performance measured?
In a number of ways. Observations, but there's an evaluation.
Can you go up to the mic, Ross?
So,
Please.
performance is measured in many ways. One is the evaluation, which comes through an administrator observing a teacher, and they use a CISA 6 model, which has 6 criteria that have to be met, and out of those 6, to move to another level, you're going to have to get at least effective, which when you say effective, does not equate to a C. It's a very high mark. So that's one way. The professional impact credits are given in terms of how, Laura, you said it so well today.
I'm not sure how I said it earlier, but professional impact credits, indicate that the teacher is making a difference in not only their classroom, but the classrooms around them, and or really working hard to improve themselves professionally. And there's a lot of time and effort that goes into either one of those activities. And when a teacher opens up their classroom to be viewed and observed by others, and opens it up to modeling, that idea of modeling best practices, you're putting yourself at risk, and that's another one of the ways that professional impact credits are granted.
And finally, it's not such a nice, pleasant part of employment, but you can always judge success if somebody is not on a disciplinary action, or in this case, a performance improvement plan, because that type of human resources action is designed to improve performance of teachers, actually. So that's another aspect of taking the whole look. So people would not be able to move up on a level that we're currently on a performance improvement plan. In fact, I would like to talk about it with others, but that would also hold for the entire year in retrospect.
One other quick comment. One of the questions that the committee members brought up is where is the student achievement evident in here? And as part of their ongoing evaluation, the 6 standards that Russ referred to have different indicators, and within those indicators are student achievement indicators. And so their administrators, as they're being observed and providing feedback throughout the year, and then and that ongoing, we look for what is called a preponderance of evidence for those indicators, for those standards, as by meeting the different indicators. And that is where the student achievement comes in. It comes in through the assessment components in there, as well as the learning.
This is Monty. I would like to add a number of questions. First of all, I recall that back perhaps in February, I think it was, and I apologize for not having the time to look this up, but some drivers were established. I didn't hear anything about the drivers that the board established at that time and how those drivers are being met.
It's in the board.
Can anyone
It's
comment?
in the presentation, Monty. There's a section where we took, it's close into the beginning of the presentation or your written report. It's a hyperlink, and you can click on it, and it takes you to the actually to the PowerPoint presentation that was delivered that contained the information about the board drivers. And the board drivers really initially were so very important in framing our work. They were reviewed very closely, and we also expanded on them. And I think if you looked at the design criteria, you're going to see a lot of the board drivers in that, as well as some other important criteria. And again, it's like shopping, that we wanted to identify what the drivers are and what the criteria is, and then start to build something that meets that criteria. So the board drivers did have a very meaningful part of our work.
Are you referring to a link from the agenda?
It's in the presentation.
I can't get any of mine to work.
Okay.
Joel's links are working, and that was probably early on in the presentation. There's a hyperlink that takes you to the board drivers and expounds on them in great detail.
I don't even have the presentation, so.
He does within board docs.
Is it added to docs?
It's in board docs on the administrative section, I believe. So you have to sign in.
Yeah, okay, well, I copied the agenda a couple days ago, so I don't know, I don't have that, sorry. I'll look for it later. My next concern is with student focus, because a lot of what I heard in terms of concerns, and I talked to Russ about this several days ago, is all about concerns about teachers and not
speak to that?
With regard to, go ahead.
Well, I think that somehow we need to take a look at that, how we've communicated this evening, and that onus would be on me, because that was really important to us. In fact, almost every comment we made, we wanted to ensure that we're doing this, the output of all this work of teaching is student achievement. So our philosophy is if you help teachers grow and perform well in the classroom, you're going to have excellent learners. So I would hope that perhaps we can stress it, maybe to overcome this objection is to stress it a little bit more, but I would hope that by my saying this, you can get the gist that it certainly was on our minds.
Well, with regard to that, the fact, I don't know if there is a fact, I guess. Let me address a different question, and that is the idea of the evaluations that was talked about, the teacher evaluations. My understanding now is that will be every 3 years. So how does that impact on the interim years?
Well, each year, the third year is the summative year, is what they refer to it as that. And it's a compilation of the other 2 years, which teachers are getting observed. And you can think of it as, in my mind, I'd say it this way, it's not a full-blown evaluation. There's different mechanisms, different ways that the teacher is observed by the principal. And so the third year is the year in which all that data is rolled up, and it's a nice, lengthy written report. But each year, the teacher is being evaluated against those high standards that we have with the CISA 6 teacher effectiveness. So it's not like something is not happening during those 3 years, that it's just that at this point, the plan chose to wait 3 years before that formal summative event took place, and then there would be a salary change, and that occurs, after you meet that, and you're in good standing, and then that next year you move on to the next year of your observation cycle.
Okay, I would like to see